Hi there, thank you for sending in your essays for correction, and it's a really good idea to get some feedback before your exam. Well done on getting so far in IELTS, and I understand you're aiming for band 7, so let's see what we can do. So international marketing. Now this is a very common mistake that you've made here. Don't worry, it's a mistake that lots of people make, and in the online course that I'm going to suggest to you, there's a whole module on how to answer the question. Okay, so this is international marketing. And here you start about promoting goods, which is excellent. So this is what we want to talk about. But you suddenly talk about trade. And this essay is not about trade. It's about marketing. So marketing, we mean advertising. Okay, so in terms of selling. And it's really the influence that these sales have. So companies like Apple, Nike, Zara, McDonald's, Starbucks, those companies, do they damage local traditional businesses? So you want to think about yes or no. How do you feel about that? So many organizations have started to promote goods. Have started to promote goods in order to spread their operation on a global scale. Okay, yeah, so that's all fine because promote goods is like advertising. However, there is an ongoing debate about the impact of global trade on the local people. In my opinion, it all depends on the nature of the foreign. So trade suddenly, you're going off task. Okay, depends about the nature of, or depends about how this advertising, how these new ideas are handled in a country. Something like that, maybe you could say. Okay? Alright, so moving on down. Thinking about foreign trade, but careful because we don't want to be talking about trade. It becomes clear that businessmen need to have strong interpersonal skills to compete in a diverse international market fairly. Okay, that's fine. Not relevant, I don't really see, but it's okay as the sentence goes. This is interesting. While English is a universal language, not all people are able to speak English. For instance, in Japan, the global brands of clothing and skincare would present their services in the language that target. Okay, so you're right to talk about presenting brands. This is absolutely right. And you're right to talk about it in a language that people understand. And this is interesting about Japanese culture. Okay, so all these are on point, but you need to link it back to this idea. So you could say, global brands of clothing and skincare are internationally recognized, and it's an opportunity for Japan to sell its unique culture and educate other people in the world about what's special about Japan, something like that. So yes, the strategy of foreign advertising even, and then that sentence would be fine, could improve local standards in many ways. Could improve education and understanding of different ideas, culture and language. Let's try not to repeat this. Ideas, culture and language. Okay, so don't repeat the language in the question. You don't get any marks for that. So this, you need to paraphrase. So you could have traditions, you could have you could talk about traditions, and you can talk about innovations and creativity, that kind of thing. Yeah. So on the other hand, now you can't use this unless you've had on the one hand. So again, in the online course, there is a module, like there's an acronym on exactly how to do these essays, and we start with on the one hand, on the other hand, singular. But you can't have one without the other. Foreign trade has not been totally beneficial in the economy. Okay, can damage the local economy of underdeveloped countries. This is because the effect of foreign trade can create a highly unbalanced structure of production. Yes, okay, of production in the market. Tell me what you mean. For example, the export markets could lead to the development of the sector, but it's easy to neglect production in the domestic sector. Okay, so again, you're talking about trade, which you don't want to, but how about the example of Starbucks coffee? Okay, so unbalanced the structure of production. Okay, unbalanced the structure of production, or unbalanced the, in the market. Then let's go, for example, The coffee chain Starbucks, which is prevalent, so that means everywhere, in most big cities in the world, has led to a severe worsening of trade for local coffee shops because many citizens or many people prefer to drink Western style coffees rather than the traditional domestically produced ones, something like that. So we're talking about the damage that these big multinationals may have caused, but through advertising and their kind of culture, not trade. So I'm not talking about sales figures here. Therefore, people remain in the backward. Okay, remained. You've got to have present tense there. Remain backward. Okay, remain unsophisticated, something like that, despite huge foreign investment. In conclusion, it seems hard to identify. No. Okay, we're not talking about trade, and you need to make a decision here. So you need to decide which way you're going to go. Okay. So, in conclusion, whilst there are many benefits of international marketing and the exchange of ideas, this can also be seen as damaging in that some local businesses may suffer and the identity of local cultures may be lost, or local communities, or smaller communities may be lost. In my opinion, yeah. So go in here. In my opinion, while people can have better standard of living, equally it could bring dual economics. Now, what do you mean dual economics? Not sure about what you mean there, but I don't do economics, so maybe you can explain. Researching the current market will help one to make the action. Okay, we suggest that you do a prediction here. So in the future, it will be impossible to, in the future, this kind of invasive advertising could be regulated by local governments, something like that. So make a prediction as to what's going to come next. Okay, so you've done this quite well. As you can hear, there's a problem on task achievement, so answering the question, but you've got some good ideas. You've used some nice examples, and your structure of your paragraphs is pretty good. Your grammar looks very nice, and your vocabulary is good. Okay, so that's really strong. Your lexis is looking really, really nice, and you've got a wide-ranging vocabulary there. So those are the areas that the examiner looks at. So part 2, okay, movie preference of young adults. This is a nice chart. Okay, so you've told me it's a bar chart. You told me what it compares, different types of movies. Okay, what you're not giving me is enough precise detail. So I don't want an essay, I want numbers, numbers, numbers in this. So all this section here, I think could be shortened into pretty much one long sentence. I put here numbers. Overall, comedy movies are the most favoured choice by both male and female. However, there's a significant contrast in other film preferences. Okay, but I mean, just go straight in here. All right, okay, you're giving me an overview. However, there's a significant contrast within other movie preferences. Yeah. Stop there and then go into detail. So that's your opening line. Okay, so give me something else about comedies. So this bit here. For women, comedies were the most popular genre at one. For men as well. Okay, for women, 137 compared to romantic films at 116. So you're doing a comparison, which is the important. In contrast, for men, comedies were also the most popular, closely followed by action movies. Okay, so we're contrasting the numbers. We're not just stating the numbers. And then you can have this. This is lovely. Compared to horror films or the horror genre. Do you know that word? Compared to the horror genre. Okay. Sorry. Women. Compared to horror, women preferred animation compared to horror. Animation. Okay, so say for women, the least preferred genre were animation and horror at between 54 and 64% respectively. Respectively is a really good word to use here. For men, okay, comedy movie is still the highest. Okay, well, I've changed that because I put that up there. In addition, actions are second. With regard to animation, the same. Okay, male tends to less prefer, yes, compared to females. Okay, so you've got some good stuff here. I just think you kind of told me all the female stuff, then all the male stuff. I think in addition to that, you need to mix up. So mix up the contrasts. This is really striking. This compared to that. Wow, that's something to talk about. Yeah. You've grouped these, that's okay. The drama and the horror, not much difference. Animation, not much difference. Pull out this maybe. Wow, big difference between that and that. So these are the sort of things to look at. Don't just tell me men and then just tell me women. Pull out contrasts. So we're looking at things like you need to have a superlative, the most, which you've got, which is lovely. And then you need to have lots of comparisons. And you can talk about half that of this. So you can talk about, rather than give me numbers all the time. But it needs to be a little bit more, a little bit tighter, that one. Imagine I'm trying to draw it and I can't see the picture. That might help you. Okay, so you've got some really good stuff here. Well done. And as I say, have a look at the online course. I think that might guide you. I know you don't have much time, but I think that will guide you really carefully. And there's 10 essay corrections on the course, so you can really see the progress you're making. Thank you very much. Good luck.